All right, today is a great day because I'm sitting here in beautiful Antalya, Turkey on the Mediterranean Sea with Stephen Kuhn. Stephen is a business advisor and coach to executives and entrepreneurs. Over the past 30 years, he's helped generate over $500 million for his clients and partners, turned around over 100 companies, and owned 20 of his own businesses. He's worked with the likes of Mick Jagger, Olivia Newton-John, Andrea Bocelli, political parties, royals, and NASDAQ companies. But his specialty is working with entrepreneurial business owners who like to think big. Be it funding, scaling, sales, acquisitions, exits, personal development, or a combination of everything in between, he works with people both one-on-one and in group settings to solve nearly any problem. Stephen is also a military veteran, a keynote speaker, and a global citizen who's lived in nearly a dozen different countries. He's a co-author of the book Humble Alpha, which helps leaders to uncover more of the power and greatness that's already inside of them. Stephen, appreciate you sitting down.
Thanks. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing us here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we recently started working together, and, like we were saying, like right before this interview, it's amazing how diverse your life experience has been. And so it's kind of hard to like just pick one thing and start there, right? And, I know you've been given the nickname at times of Forrest Gump just because of all the different amazing parts of history you've been a part of and all that stuff. But I wanted to sit down and have a conversation because you have so much value to share. You've led such an interesting life. But I kind of want to start with what makes you unique, which is I think a lot of people, when they're gonna bring on an advisor or a coach in their business, they might be afraid that someone's not going to listen to them.
Right.
They might try to implement something that's not quite a fit for their business or their lifestyle that they're like. And so one thing that sticks out to me is you like to approach things with a, no preconceived notion, no expectation, right? Which is kind of what I've had to do for this interview because there's so much to cover. But where does that kind of philosophy come from, and how has it helped you and your clients?
Well, basically, it's in the book. It's called Creating Space, showing up wholly and fully for the person in front of you with no preconceived notions or cookie-cutter solutions and no expectation of a specific outcome. Of course, you have goals, but you focus on the one thing that you can control, and that is the intention. And my intention is always add value by solving problems. And that's the main key. Any business in the world, if they're not solving a problem, they're not a business. Right? It's that simple. So that's what I do. I look at your business or my clients' businesses. We talk, we discuss, and we find the solution or a problem, and I go out and find a solution in my network of 50,000 people. And if I don't have the solution, I know someone who does, and if they don't know, they know someone who does. So there's a chain of command, right, that we can take care of all these problems. I always say the bigger the problem, the better, and the more people that say it can't be done, the better. The harder I dive in.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that also you've talked a lot about in those situations where you need to find a solution, need to find an answer, one of the first things you said is I reach out to my contacts, right? Because it's not so much we need to implement this strategy, this tactic, this tool, the numbers and the working parts of a business are important, but you've also got this focus on people, and personal development. Why is that?
Well, that's everything, isn't it? Every company is run by a human being. And if that human being isn't at the top of their tier, at the top of their game, living their best life for their employees, for their company, well, then you're going to have issues. And that's why every single advisory that I do is always coupled with coaching. One without the other is almost impossible. You can't just coach a business owner without the business, and you can't just coach the business without the human. And so if you look at any business that I do, and I've done a lot, as you mentioned, and all over the world, it always comes down to those two things. Human being and network. That's it. So I find we speak. I find out what drives you. What's your mission, vision? Is it aligned with the company's mission and vision? Then we talk to the employees. Is that aligned with the mission and vision? Because of course, everyone's not going to be, blindly following the company's mission. But you may have a mission that aligns with the company's mission, but you just don't know it because you never spoke about it. And so we go into these details with if the clients wish so, and we find out that every single person here wants to have the feeling that when they cross a T or dot an I, they're contributing to the bottom line and to that bigger vision, right? So it's something that I really focused on, even in the corporate world that I was in, and I changed that company forever until today because of that. Focusing on people, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's great. One story that comes to mind, a mutual contact of ours, Ross, is you came in and helped implement a ton of things with him. Can you share a little bit about that story? Because it's a great example of all the different value adds that you have.
Ross saw a video of me, and he called. And he happens to be in a network of mergers and acquisition specialists that I'm in. And he said, I want to work with you. Didn't have to even talk about it. He said, I like your energy. I like your vibe. I can tell you have experience. And so we have a 3-month gig, as that's what we do. We work together for 3 months with my clients. And he was working probably 60, 70 hours a week, and his wife, the same thing, in their 4 companies. And within those 3 months, we basically said, what do you want? And I go, what do you really want? He said, I want to climb all 7 mountains in the world that are the highest peaks. Like, okay, that's the goal then.
And that's literally, not figuratively.
He's halfway there.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, for that you need time, right? And he said, yeah. I said, okay, first thing we need to do is look at your businesses. How can you remove yourself from the business? Everyone says work on your business, not in your business, but it's easier said than done. And thank goodness Ross has a level head, and he sees where the ability is to delegate the task, but not the responsibility. And so we helped him bring in 2 MDs, managing directors, and helped him, sort of organize his life so that he now works probably maybe an hour or 2 a day from wherever he wants to in the world. And we became such good friends that we even went to Mexico together with our families and did some plant medicine, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Yeah, and we'll get to that because I know you have a lot of different ways of approaching personal development.
Right.
And now Ross is 14 or so different deals that he's done in mergers and acquisitions. So it's big.
He's a true leader.
Yeah.
Ross is really a true leader.
Yeah. It's a good example of your work. Now, one of the things, 2 of the things that stick out to me from your book, Humble Alpha, is whenever someone is kind of going through that challenge that they're facing, whether it's in their business or personal side, is that you talk about HIT, which is honesty, integrity, transparency, and you also talk about assuming a new identity. And so I was wondering if you kind of talk about why those 2 things are important and how they relate to each other.
Well, HIT is the basis. It's the foundation of core principles and morals. So HIT stands for honesty, integrity, and transparency. Honesty with yourself while you think, say, and do what you do. Transparency is how you step into the world with that honesty, and it's your ongoing reputation. The byproduct is integrity. Integrity makes you authentic. Authenticity allows you to dictate your market value. So first of all, you own your presence through that, first of all, right? So when I say be honest, people say, oh, I'm honest. But I'm saying being honest with yourself. That's the most important thing, because when you're honest with yourself, you don't have to worry about anybody else. So when I'm talking to you and something's not congruent, I need to know, okay, is what I am saying really the truth? Is this really speaking of what I want to speak of? If not, I need to adjust, recalibrate, and move forward. And after you get that basis, that foundation, we talk about your identity. It's not necessarily a new identity. It's uncovering your identity. Most people, if you ask them, who are you? I'm the boss. I'm a CEO. I'm a mother. I'm a father, whatever. No, that's what you do. So who are you really? And we break it down in five sections. The first section is identity in the book, and it helps you come out with a 2-word moniker and a mission statement or an identity statement that helps you realize, hey, actually, this is what I do most. And I give you an example. So when I did it, I came out as powerful connector. That's my 2-word moniker. And when I realized that, I was like, well, why don't I just focus on that, since that's who I am? And since then, these deals that I'm doing, the deals in Turkey that we're doing, the deals in all over the world that we're doing, only through the connections that we have, never meeting the people face to face. And we're doing, big 7-8-figure deals.
Yeah, that's great. And I like that approach, because I think sometimes people think like, oh my gosh, I have this huge challenge. I need to figure out a way to do it. Whereas you can approach it a different way where who do I need to know? Who do I need to talk to to make this work?
And that's it. People ask me all the time, what's your secret to success? I mean, success is relative, whatever. So maybe I'm not as successful as the next guy. It doesn't matter. But my secret to success is asking for help every freaking day. I mean, if I have to think about how I'm going to do something for more than a minute, I'm asking for help. Why would I not want to collapse time and getting to where I want to go? Right. And that's sort of what I teach as well. Ask all the time. And when we work with clients, we have, our weekly Zoom calls, but we also have in between a WhatsApp chat group. You can write me 24 hours a day. Hey, I'm feeling like this, or what happened, and this happens here. And I'm just on it, answering all the time. That's what you need to do. Ask for help all the time. Anybody out there listening, if you're stuck right now, ask for help. Simple. Yeah. Don't be embarrassed.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think holds people back from asking for help?
It's because they're embarrassed. They don't want to look like they're not professional. Like I've hired coaches that were younger than me, less experienced than me, but they were specific in one area that was very, very needed for me. And they're like, why are you coming to me? Like they were almost embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. I want to be better. I want to be the best version of myself and my family, my wife, and everybody. Like that. For me, it's the mission. The mission is to be the best version of myself all the time. And I'm not just talking like a lot of people talk. I mean that. And if you look at my life and you look at what I've done in my life, it's unparalleled. No one's done what I've done. And that's not an arrogant thing. That's just maybe from my side, a little bit eclectic, it may seem, but it was always aligned with people. It was always aligned with that network and growing that cohesion between everyone that I know. And I can call people I haven't spoken to in 10 years. I'm going to pick up because of that.
So, you didn't just wake up and be who you are today, and have this experience and have those connections and all those things without going through some challenges of your own, right? Yeah. So, you're no stranger to challenge. So can you talk a little bit about, challenges you faced, how you've overcome them and how that's helped you in your advisory?
I could go through, probably hundreds of stories of, I've failed more than I've succeeded. People say that all the time, but I mean it. I lost everything twice, and I mean everything. Partner, money, job, everything. Twice. One time within a week. And for instance, the first time I did it, I was like, man, what am I going to do? I have nothing. So I decided, well, if I have nothing, then I better do something. And that was, let's write a book. So I wrote a book, took 2 weeks to write the book. It was in German. It came out 2 weeks later. It was a bestseller. And I did TV and interviews for a year just from that book. And what I did is I took all that energy that I had that was scattered, in the relationship and the business and with the other things I was doing, and I didn't have that anymore. So where can I focus? And I focused fully on that book, and it became a success to this day. That's just one example. Another example is when I was in a very bad relationship, and I had a falling out, and I was on the street, and the police came, and I lost my mind and tried to, grab the gun and tried to end my life. And that didn't go the way I planned, thank goodness. And I ended up going home to an apartment that I was renting that I couldn't live in because I was homeless at the time. It was 2008. And I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. So I was ready to do it again. And there was a knock on the door, and it was the police officer from whose gun I tried to take. And she came in and said, I know you. I read your book. This is not who you are. You're an amazing man. You're going to change the world. And I was like, what is this? So I took that, called my friend Michael and said, if you don't come get me, I won't be here tomorrow. So he came and got me, went to Austria, where he's from. And I ended up going to a Benedictine monastery, living with monks for a long, long time. And I got clear on who I was, what I'm about, and why I was doing what I was doing, what I didn't want anymore. Right. And I came back out of that, emerged a new man. Then I moved, to another country after that as well, just to start over fresh.
Yeah. That's great. I think it's stories like that, if someone else is going through a tough time, I mean, they know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Look, it's tough all the time.
Yeah.
Life is tough. Anyone who tells you it's not is full of it, right? Life is tough. You can have the best life, but then there's something wrong over here. You have the best, that's over, okay, now there's something wrong over here. Just accept that as part of the journey, and find a solution. Always be solution oriented. When someone sits down and talks to me about a problem, I need to know the problem, but then that's it. I don't need to talk about the problem. Let's talk about the solution, And it's funny how, and especially in Germany, where they'll sit and talk about a problem for hours. And I'm like, what about the solution? Let's talk about that, And, it's just each culture has its own little idiosyncrasies.
Right. That's great. Right. Now, another thing I want to touch on is you're not a hustle and grind guy.
No.
You like the QOL, which is what you call it, quality of life. So ideally, you're getting over these challenges and you're figuring out ways to kind of create a lifestyle that's good for you and enjoy a good quality of life. How do you work on that with people? Because, some people, they may have, everything seems to be going for them on the money side of thing or the business side of thing, business growing, everything, but there's still something missing, right? Yeah. So how do you work on that with people?
That's quality of life right there. First of all, look where we are, right? We're where other people, this is like the 5th most, visited vacation place on the planet or something like that. We live here. Every weekend we're in a resort. And it's something that we chose, my wife and I, Olga, we chose to be here for that. Right. So first of all, it's a choice, isn't it? Like, do you really want it, or are you just saying you want it? Because if anyone's gone through hell, like I've gone through a couple times, they know that it's never as important as you thought it was. When it's over, and you're like, oh, I guess I can move on, And you're never as important as you think you are. You're never irreplaceable. You can always move on to a new thing. So once you make that decision, I want to have a better quality life, like Ross did. Well, then we just talk about it. How can you remove yourself from the business, but still be, in charge, of course, and taking the responsibility? You don't have to do the tasks, right? But we have to find out your vision first. Like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Like, we want to live on the beach. We want to, enjoy the sun and water. Now it's Antalya. It could be somewhere else next year as well. So what do you want? Well, make the decision, first of all, that you actually want to focus on quality of life. Most people say they do, but they don't, because they're scared not to make enough money, not to drive forward and stuff. So you make that decision, then you decide what kind of a life do you want. You live in the mountains, you want to live in the sea, and then you just start focusing on that. I'm not going to get into like daily routines and visualization, all that kind of stuff. That's someone else's.
There's plenty of content.
Yeah, someone else's stuff. But it'll drive you. Get up every morning. I get up every morning, look out at this. Like, I can't believe we're living here in the sea, in the Mediterranean. It's incredible. I've been here for a year now, and with my beautiful wife and beautiful sea, it's like it's hard to be in a bad mood. And I really want my clients and those out there who are listening, potential clients that may come to me, to know that this is absolutely attainable, and you don't have to be rich to do it. You do not have to be rich to do it. Living in Turkey is super inexpensive. If you go to like Philippines or Bali, it's even less expensive. And so you don't have to move there lock, stock, and barrel. You don't have to like live your life there forever, but you can move there. We fly back and forth to different countries, and it's all affordable. It's all very affordable.
Yeah. So maybe sometimes people think it's harder than it is.
Yeah, it's not hard. Like I said, when you're forced into something, suddenly it's easy.
Right.
And you're saying, why didn't I do this before?
Yeah,
exactly.
So something else that sticks out to me about you is, you mentioned plant medicine a little earlier. I think some people, if they're kind of pragmatic or they're, business type people, they can get a little turned off by like woo-woo talk, getting too spiritual, but I think you have a healthy balance of all that stuff. So can you talk about how all of those things are integrated, and maybe someone might be working on a problem. They think like, oh, I just need to figure out this business problem logically, where it might be an emotional thing. It might be a spiritual thing. It might be a mental thing. How do you approach that?
Well, plant medicine, ayahuasca and San Pedro specifically, are the two energies. So you have masculine and feminine. Ayahuasca is feminine, holistic, just like a woman. They're holistic. They want to talk about things. They don't want to solve the problem. The men, they always go, what's the problem? Let me solve it. So we're action oriented. So that's the San Pedro. And it's the yin and yang. Everything has those two energies: plants, animals, and people. They all have masculine and feminine energies. I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about energy, right? So these are all things that you have to take into account. You don't have to understand how it works or what it is, but you do understand that when you meet a woman who's more masculine and feminine, you see it right away. And when you see a guy that's more feminine than he is masculine, you see that right away. So how do you want to be? Where do you want your balance to be? What kind of a man did you always want to be? Or a woman did you always want to be? And this is what plant medicine helps you do. It helps you let go of what you thought you had to do according to society, your mom, your dad, your brothers, whatever it is, right? You let go of all that and you uncover who you really are. And if we go back to the identity phase, this really helps crystallize that. Because once you have HIT implemented and you have your identity, your purpose just shines up in front of you. And that's what plant medicine helps as well. And then that purpose amplifies your identity to the world, giving you that presence that we're talking about. So presence comes from being present. And when you're creating space with those around you, you're present in the moment, and that gives you that massive presence that everybody talks about. Wow, that guy walks in the room, everybody knows because he's not distracted, he's not looking around, he's here. I'm here right now with you, and that's it. Like, this is why I'm here, correct? To speak to you, and that's it. I'm not worried about anything else. I'm not thinking about anything else. I want to have this moment as full as possible.
You said the purpose comes from figuring out the identity.
Yeah.
How does that work? How are those two connected?
Well, look, I came up with my 2-word moniker, Powerful Connector. So my purpose is to connect people powerfully, right? And then make money from that, which is what I do with my wife, Olga. As an example, we decided in Turkey that we wanted to do a deal. Didn't know what. We did some research. Ross actually helped us. And we found that Turkey needs solar farms. So we took it upon ourselves to do that. We had no experience or nothing, but we have the network. And now we've actually signed the power purchase agreement for $120 million over 20 years. Not for us, but for the solar company, we get a piece of that. We did that through our network, right? We didn't do that because we have the knowledge or because, we're specialists. Not at all. We bring specialists together and make things happen.
That's great. So we've kind of hinted at it already. Can you talk about the types of people that you love helping? I know you say big thinkers. Yeah. You say, people that are working on big problems. Who are the types of people you love working with?
I like the scrappy business guy or gal, right? That they're there. They have their 1 or 2 businesses, maybe 3 or 4. I have a client right now who has 4 businesses. and they're just getting on, man. They're just making it happen, but they know that they have limitations. They don't know everything. They want to grow, they want to scale. They're just not sure how, right? And it's really cool how I work, because I don't just walk in and tell you what to do. Like, I don't do that. I work with you, find out what the problem is, go out and find a solution. And that problem could be you need more sales, you need marketing, whatever. I'll go out and find people to do it, or I'll find you clients, right? Like you need someone to buy your stuff. I'll find people to buy your stuff, and it's like I'm a full on your side in your base camp. I'm helping you, scale and grow that company, period. And it's a lot of fun. I love these business owners who are like, look, man, I'm successful in my own right, and I just want to get to that next level, man. And how do I do it? And that's the most fun. Of course, the big problems take much longer. Those things take about 3 months, but the big problems like the solar farms took about a year. Yeah. So, it just depends where I want to. I like doing a little bit of both.
That's great. And, there is a percentage of people out there that they're absolute killers, and they're like, I'm in the top 1%, but I want to be in the top 0.01%, right? And so sometimes you do come across those people and work with them. But a lot of times too, the thing that triggers somebody working with you is going through a transition period, whether that's exiting a company, whether that's taking on a new role, whether that's switching from an executive to an entrepreneur, business owner. Can you talk about how you guide people kind of through those transition moments of life?
Well, it's funny. You said logical, very, very direct. And that's the thing. You got to get out of logic, first of all. What's your emotions telling you? Do you want to change this job because of the money? Do you want to pivot because of the money? Or is it something you really want to do? Because if you're pivoting for money, it's not going to work, right? It'll work for a short period, maybe, but you're not going to be fulfilled and happy. You'll be in the same place you were now, which is why you left or changed, right? So we got to figure out what that is first. What do you really want? That's always the key. What do you really want, man? Right? And it's not just what you want for the business, what do you want for yourself? Because they are tied together. There is no business life and private life. It's a full integration of both. If you're not integrated in both, like my wife and I, we do everything together, private and professional. And she has her projects on the side, I have my projects on the side as well, but we're fully integrated. So we can talk anytime at all. Of course, we take a lot of time for quality of life, if you will. But we're always integrated with everything that we talk about. And so if you're not prepared to do that, or you don't think you can do that, then we need to work on that. And that's always the emotional side, right? And that's where you say the woo-woo comes in. People are like, oh, gee, that's bullshit. I just want to drive and make the revenue and blah, blah, blah. You can do that if you want to hustle and grind. Hustle and grind is like 2 words someone made up to make you feel better about working way too much, right? It's like total BS if you ask me. You don't need to hustle. You don't need to grind. Olga and I, we enjoy our lives. We work hard, but not long, right? Work smart, not long. And that's where we can bring the clients. That's where we go. Olga and I, we work together on some projects, and some projects I work on.
What has been your experience of, maybe it is the type of person that you're describing, but something's holding them back from getting started working with someone like you. What are the common objections you hear?
I don't know if it's the right time, Stephen. Some people are intimidated because I'm just so excited about working with him. Like, why is this guy so excited to work with me, man? I'm like, because I can see the solutions. I'm like, man, I know 3 solutions for you already. We just spoke, So anyone who has a call with me, usually it's up to 30 minutes, but most people end after 15 minutes because they're like, stop. I have enough stuff right now just to even get going. That's just an introduction call to see if you even want to work with me. So when you show up, I'm going to fill you up with quality and value that you're going to be like, damn, I have to work with this guy. That's the number one objection. I don't know if it's the right time, because they're scared to look like they need help. Second one is always money, right? It's always money. That's too much. How can I do it? I always say this. If it's too much for you, find a way. Winners always find a way. If you want to work with me, we're going to find a way to work with you. And if that's not 4 times a month, it's 6 times a month. If it's not 6, it's 2. Right. And of course, the price varies in that way. I have a solid state, but if you want to work with me, you're going to find a way. And if you don't want to find a way, then I can't work with you. Yeah. It's that simple. I'm not going to go out and say, hey, how about this? And how about that? How about this? You want to work with me? Let's do it. I will take you to a place you've never been before, but you got to make that step. Winners find a way.
Yeah. I love that. And one of the things that I've noticed when you talk about working with those types of people is the thing, and we talked about this a little in the beginning, which is, there's the business side, there's the numbers, there's like what strategy we can implement, but sometimes that's boring, not because it's you don't like to do it, but it's you've done it so much. But the exciting part is the personal work. Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, that logical stuff, that's just checking boxes. That doesn't do anything for the development of the company, for the growth of the company. Sure, revenue is growing, but how's it growing? Through people, or automation, people who automate it, right? It's always the people. And I promise you, if you optimize your team and you pay attention to them, give them reviews and speak to them and listen to their real concerns and not just be the boss, right? You're going to see your company thrive and flourish. And you're going to see people who you never thought were leaders step up and take leadership roles. It's incredible. And I've done that.
And how does that process differ when you're working with someone who's more of a solopreneur? Like maybe they don't have a full team, but they're it's almost like tennis. They've only got one person on one side of the court. How does it change when you work with
collaboration, right? So you don't have to pay for services. You can collaborate. If you have a service that I need and I have a service you need, we collaborate. We're collaborating. You and I, same thing. And when I win, we both win. It's the same thing. So you don't have to have a full team. You don't have to have a payroll. But there's always people out there that need your services and you need their services, or maybe you can joint venture with them as well. And like I did with my previous partner Lane, we joint ventured and had 4 years of fun and success.
Love it. Yeah. So how can people get in touch? What's the best way?
I think the best way is my email, steven@humblealpha.com. Check out the website, humblealpha.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, all those different social media things.
Awesome. Yeah. And if they want to work with you specifically on the advisor services, maybe send a subject line with the word growth.
Yeah. Send the subject line to steven@humblealpha.com with the word growth. And we'll set up a call. We can chat and show you that there's always a way forward no matter what.
Love it. Anything else you want to add? Any stories you want to share?
No, look, I could talk forever, I mean, it's like my background's ridiculous. I still can't believe it sometimes when I think about all the things I've done. I feel like I've lived like 9 lives or 10 lives. But the point is this: nobody has my experience, period. No, nobody has your experience. Nobody has my wife's experience. Everyone's unique, right? So I could sit here and tell you that I have all these special talents, but until you connect with me and you talk to me, it doesn't mean anything. Right? Maybe they're impressed. Maybe they're not. Maybe they think I'm arrogant. Maybe they don't. Doesn't matter. Right? I'm here to do one thing. And that's to add value by solving problems. Period.
Thanks for sitting down.
Thanks so much, man.